But so many of us women, our intimate health is usually overlooked, or we feel embarrassed and even dismissed as being overreacting when we feel that something is not right. So now, ladies, this cannot continue, and help and information is out there for you. And I took the liberty of talking with Dr. Tracey Sims, who is a GP and medical director of Intimate You, which is based on Rodney Street. And one of the things that we touched on was vaginal rejuvenation. But you've got to listen to know exactly what I'm talking about and what I mean.
Intimate You is the UK's first small private health clinic that is dedicated particularly to women's health issues.
Such as what?
Such as the main things that we deal with really are more intimate health issues, such as stress incontinence, urge incontinence of urine, mixed incontinence, which is a mixture of stress incontinence and urge incontinence, and also difficulties around the vagina and the vulva, which may be problematic for ladies after delivery of children or after the menopause.
So one of the things that I'd love to touch on with you is vaginal rejuvenation.
Yeah.
And for some people, they might not understand what that is, but what exactly is it?
Well, it's actually a really interesting term, because vaginal rejuvenation itself isn't a medical term. It's a phrase that has kind of come into common use in the last couple of years. And so it doesn't actually have a medical definition. What it has generally meant has been the use of energy-based devices such as laser or radio frequency with the aim of improving the condition of the vaginal and the vulval tissue.
Has this been going on for a long time, or is this a kind of a new celebrity wave thing?
I wouldn't describe it as a celebrity wave thing. It is relatively new to this country. It has been used more extensively on the continent, in Europe and in America. But I think we need to regard the treatments as still very much being new to the UK and in the stage of having a reasonable amount of research behind them, but we still need to develop and we still need to know more. So I'd say really as a general comment, it's more in its infancy.
Okay. I've always thought that laser was commonly used, but with vaginal rejuvenation treatments, they're not needed, are they? Or is it more of a superficial treatment?
The lasers which are used are actually, they're designed to act very superficially. They act only on the upper layers of the skin, because that's where we're aiming to stimulate the cells that produce collagen. Because what we're aiming to do is to take tissue that may be thinned and less elastic, for example following the menopause when there isn't the estrogen acting upon the tissue, and stimulate the fibroblasts to produce more collagen and increase the production of elastin as well. And collagen and elastin are what gives our skin that kind of bounciness and springiness and softness.
So in a way, making it younger. Also, when I say younger, reversing time in a way. So is it like the skin age treatment for older women? Is it both for the vagina?
It could be thought of that way, but we have to view the vagina and the intimate tissues as being really a special case and something very specific, and we don't undertake any treatment on the vagina lightly, particularly because the treatments are still under development. For example, the main laser treatment, the SmartX tied to .RF system, is used to produce a treatment called the Mona Lisa Touch. Now the Mona Lisa Touch has got over 30 published papers regarding the treatment, and that's the one with the largest amount of evidence on the market. But we have to be aware that before we treat any woman with any of these innovative therapies, there are other things that they can try first. For example, those women who've got postmenopausal vulvovaginal atrophy, which is due to a lack of estrogen, those women can experience, the first thing they usually experience is dryness during intercourse, and then that can go on to be a persistent dryness, and it can be an irritation and itchiness, which can interfere with their sleep, it can interfere with their daily life, it can make them uncomfortable, can also lead to them having urinary frequency, and also some discharge as the pH in the vagina rises. Now, traditionally, this condition has been treated with, well, first of all, vaginal moisturisers, which tend to be water-based and have to be used several times a day. Another thing that can be used is vaginal lubricants, which tend to be silicone-based or water-based, and they can be used at the time of intercourse, and they may need to be used several times during intercourse. A step up from that is vaginal estrogen cream, so actually giving a form of hormone replacement locally, specifically to the vaginal tissues. There's only a small uptake of that estrogen into the circulation, but it acts locally to improve the condition of the tissues. Now, when women have tried the lubricants, the moisturisers, the estrogen, there is actually still a proportion of women who don't get relief from that treatment. And those are the women that perhaps may consider the more innovative treatments, because of course they're still left with these symptoms. And whereas with the menopause, with the symptoms like the hot flushes may last for a couple of years. Vulvovaginal atrophy just gets worse and worse and worse over the years. It doesn't stop and it doesn't go away unless treated, usually, for most women.
Wow, that's a lot of information. What type of treatments are, because I know there was one lady that I spoke to, and she was she's gone through menopause, and like you mentioned before, there was the dryness and not feeling herself and didn't want to have sex or anything like that because she just felt really uncomfortable. So she was prescribed like pessary.
Yes, that'll be the estrogen pessary.
Okay.
There are several on the market. There's things like Vagifem and Orthogynost, and basically they are like a localised form of HRT. So it's like replacing the estrogens that premenopausally would have been produced by the ovaries and had an effect on the tissue of the vagina and the vulva. And so it's like taking what has been taken away by the menopause and replacing it.
Okay. So with the rejuvenation, would you say there's a lot of young women who are going for it that don't need it, or is it mainly the older ladies that are going for these treatments?
It's mainly the older ladies who are going for the treatment, and certainly at Intimate You on Rodney Street we encourage all of the people who come forward for treatment, all of the ladies who are considering treatment, to try the other mechanisms first that have been used for longer, like the lubricants, the moisturisers and the vaginal estrogen, to do a lot of research on the procedures before they have them done, because of course it's all about information. And it's all about having as much information as possible to make a good analysis based on the risks of a procedure versus the benefits. And as long as a woman has that information and is well informed and has tried the other things, or elected not to try them for whatever reason they may have, then in a relationship, a professional relationship with their clinician, they can then decide whether they wish to go forward for treatment or not.
And I think as well, it's not being ashamed in having these conversations.
Absolutely. I think particularly in the UK, we tend not to talk about intimate health issues, whether it be incontinence, whether it be vaginal or vulval discomfort or itching. And these are things that are pervasively affecting women's lives. And we need to increase the conversation. We need to increase the amount of times that women have opportunities to discuss with healthcare providers, with each other. To raise the agenda. When I started treating, for example, the incontinence issues, using a device called the BTL Emsella device, which is a chair device which women merely sit on to strengthen the pelvic floor. And I started discussing that with women around me, friends, colleagues, and the number of women who I'd known for a very long time, we'd never discussed these issues before, but because we'd started a dialogue together, they felt comfortable to sit around the table and say, oh gosh, actually, I've got that problem. Oh, I've got that problem. I've had that problem for a long time. And there is actually a review that's been done that shows that women who perhaps have incontinence issues following delivery of a baby, it takes them 6.5 years to come to their GP on average before they present with the symptoms. That's 6.5 years when they'd be suffering with the problem.
Where can people go for more information? Are there like websites out there?
Yeah, there are lots of websites. There's also lots of conversations going on between women around the world, blogging and discussions, and we have a website which is a good place to start for good solid information. So that's www.intimateyou.co.uk. The Mona Lisa Touch has its own website, as does the Ultrafem 360 and the BTLM Cellar.
Love it, and I hope you liked it too, because sometimes as women we don't talk about these things, and you know, a lot of listeners are over the age of 45 and 50, so you shouldn't be embarrassed, because I know when I get to 50 I will not be. Trust me. Hope you've enjoyed tonight's show as much as I have, as you can tell from my big smile on my face. And have a great start to your week. Try and stay positive no matter what. Let's do this again next Sunday, 8 till 10 p.m. Have a great night and stay tuned to the handsome Billy Marr. And love you lads like jelly tots.